So let's now consider what is the ultimate result of the C4C project. A functional network of pediatric experts and trial sites coordinated by the C4C Stichting. And you saw him referenced earlier. A big round of applause, please, now for Professor Mark Turner. Who is Professor of Neonatology and Research Delivery at the University of Liverpool in the UK and CEO of c4c Stichting. Over to you, Mark.
Well, thank you very much, Sue, and thank you to everyone for coming today to hear about what we're going to do. And the whole point of all this work is doing things to make trials easier, doing things to speed up pediatric drug development. There's been a lot of process, there's been a lot of energy in deliverables, but now we're going to do things, and we're here to do things to help you. So if there's something you want us to do, ask, and we'll try and do it. We may not be able to do everything that you have in mind, but what we can offer is reproducible, high-quality services to meet the needs of academics and industry, trying to improve the medicines, devices, other ways of preventing and treating disease that babies, children, and young people suffer from. So we're here to do things, and that's the ultimate result, a way of doing things. We want to bring rapid, focused, and timely insights to you to help pediatric drug development. And those insights are inputs to pediatric investigation plans, or pediatric study plans, and protocols. And that can be done by bringing experts together, or by listening to people in sites who implement the studies, finding out the problems before you do the protocol, avoiding maybe that first amendment. And then we work with all the sites to deliver the trials and bring the right people in with the right feasibility so that you can get started quickly in doing the studies. The mechanism for that is a network. Now, the word network means many different things to many people, but for us, it's a consistent set of high quality and reliable links between people leading trials, academics and industry, CROs, and that broader pediatric community. So we wanted to focus on being consistent, high quality and reliable. That's what we mean by a network that you can benefit from. So as of now, what this Dutch non-profit offers you is expert advice, trial feasibility, and trial support. As we'll hear, expert advice involves more than 500 experts. And if you want to become an expert, fill in the form before Friday, and you can be in that group as well. So from that college of 400, 500 people, we can bring together the right people to answer your questions. Methodologists, clinicians, most importantly, children, young people and their families, patient-public involvement, we think should be at the heart of pediatric drug development because it makes the studies easier and more relevant. Then when the PIP, when the protocol is ready, we can conduct feasibility across more than 220 pediatric sites. Now, you may have a network. You may have a network of 50 or 100 sites. You may know lots of people, but we can have this bottom-up approach that's coordinated in each country to deliver rapid results, protected by confidentiality disclosure agreements, and do that in a way that is efficient and accountable. And then when the studies are ready, we can support the sites. We're not here to replace the CROs. We're not here to replace in-house functions. We don't undertake any transfer of regulatory obligations, but there's always 5–10% of trials that get stuck. And sometimes having other ways of communicating with sites can be helpful. And we're here to provide that extra route of communication. The idea is that each company, each CRO, each academic has capabilities, but it's very difficult to reproduce that pan-pediatric, pan-European approach. And if you've got 50% coverage of Europe, that's great. We can give the other 50%. But many people have 10–20%, and we can very quickly provide that complete coverage across all the pediatric subspecialties, across all the methodologies relevant to pediatric drug development. As you'll see from the posters and the presentations today, we've also developed services relating to education and training about pediatric drug development, site level through to a master's level course in pediatric drug development. And those services are available when we have the resources to provide them. With appropriate support from colleagues, we've provided multi-stakeholder meetings, and this is going to become increasingly important as we have to prioritize medicines, recognized in the draft pharmaceutical regulation. And data standards have also been a focus. There's a lot of attention paid to data standards and interoperability between data standards. But quite often these data standards have been designed for adults, just as medicines are usually designed for adults, and that means there can be gaps. Even in the draft European health data space, not every aspect of pediatric health has been covered. So there's been a lot of work done on that, which we can extend as resources develop. We've worked with some very capable partners, and although Mandy from IMP Supplies isn't formally part of our sticking, we're very pleased that we want to work with her in the future. And Alpha, Diallo and Leah from the pharmacovigilance provide a service that, again, they're fully on their two legs, but it's very great that we can integrate with them as appropriate. So there's plenty more that we can help with. So I mentioned that by network, we mean consistent, reliable links. And this means that we are sustainable and we have a viable non-profit legal entity that has no shareholders, reinvests everything in improving the services, and is bringing in the money and the governance to be sustainable. We are procurement ready for industry work, we're grant ready for academic work. We're not trying to boil the ocean, we're not trying to help with everything. By listening to our partners in the IHI consortium, we're able to pick on the services that are needed, that there's a market for, that have benefits. And so this is what we're offering. It's quite limited, but if you want something else, tell us, and we'll think about it. But in the meantime, we're focused on things that we know we can do because we've tested them. The expert advice has been tested more than 40 times, more than 40 completed requests with industry and academia. The clinical trials, more than 11 trials, and there's more and more coming in. This is based upon standards, based upon quality and performance management that meets the compliance requirements and is accountable through our governance, through to our supervisory board, to make sure that we actually deliver what we say we're going to deliver. We want to work with and through the pediatric community, and sometimes sites feel as if they're in a transactional relationship with the CRO or with the sponsor. You recruit 5 people, we'll give you €1,000. And that's a necessary part of it, but to be efficient, we need to think beyond that. If we want to build in the loyalty, if we want to build in people doing the studies again and again, which needs an investment in time and energy from the sites, then we need to build up trusted relationships. And no matter how big the pharma company or the CRO, that portfolio is never going to cover everything or everywhere. So we hope to provide that glue in between relationships, that by sharing goodwill, by pooling our interactions, we can make it easier for everybody and speed up those interactions without taking away from anybody's identity, without taking away from anybody's skills. We need to emphasize the voices of children, young people and their families, because many of the problems we have with pediatric drug development come because we ignore the voices of the people who have to sign up for the studies, and we don't know what they find acceptable, we don't know what endpoints are going to be useful to them, so that impedes the trials and impedes health technology assessment. So the voices of children and young people and their families are essential. There are some very skilled partners to help us with that. But what we want to do is build strategic partners with industry and academia so that we're not just working on one trial, we're working on this whole enterprise of pediatric drug development so that each trial can be easier and quicker. we've demonstrated that a multi-stakeholder approach and cooperation is productive. This team can work together, overcome adversities, and we want to reproduce that approach in a slightly different legal form through the stichting. But it does have stakeholder advisory committees, it does have boards for people to comment on what we're doing. So we want to carry on the spirit of the partnership, but build it into a non-profit that does things consistently and repeatedly. So our secret sauce is that we are that forum for more than doing trials. There is mutual benefit for investing in relationships because it will help future trials. And we want to offer academics more than money and contributions for sites, because if everyone feels some ownership in paediatric drug development, then we all move things along. And we want broader access to new medicines, make sure as many countries as possible, as many sites as possible join trials. And we want people to contribute. And we're not here to comment on the pharmaceutical legislation. We're not here to comment on pricing. Plenty of other people can do that. But what we can do is influence what the agencies call regulatory science, which is the thinking behind how regulation is done. And this is what EMA has indicated is the role for groups like C4c and many others, is to help that regulatory science, to bounce ideas around as to what are the principles, what's the practice of drug regulation. And that's a joint space that we can work in and benefit the academics, benefit the sites, and lay the foundations for effectively doing things to promote paediatric drug development. Thank you very much.